Yo, what is up, everybody? Roots and Branches podcast, TV show, video, YouTube, whatever you want to call it, episode 2. We're back. It is myself, Greg. It is his self, Chris. And we are going to go over some stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about what's the relationship for people attending Oaklife. Like, what should they expect? What will they be engaged in or engaged with? Stuff like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, so This is kind of like a how-to video.
Yeah,
how to Oaklife.
Yeah.
Nice, Jinx.
You want me to snap it? Got it.
So for a lot of us, some people at Oaklife grew up in the church, and it's really familiar what we do and what our relationship to church is. For some of us, there's no context. Like, what does it mean to go to church or to be a part of this thing? What is church? And for all of us, I think Oaklife is a little different at the very least. So what is the expectations? Like, what should people expect coming in? So this is just a great video if you're new, or also if you're an OG, you want to think about what like this all means. A lot of us have deconstructed it, but have we reconstructed something? So this little video is a how-to Oaklife and a little reflection on what the nature of our relationship to church is. Like, how do I be a part of it? What's the expectations of me? Not just what am I expecting of church. So with that, Greg, what things should people know as they're coming in? If this is their first Sunday, or they just want to check it out, or they found us online. What makes us weird that people should know about?
Well, weird or attractive? Because one of the things that I've heard is that when people attend, they're like, "Oh, you guys are not in a traditional space. We rent out space at the New Parkway Theater, and there's couches. It's dark. It's a theater. There's graffiti. It's a cool environment. It's a cool space. So that's one of the first things that people notice the most as far as expectation. So it kind of breaks that feel of tradition. We're generally a mix of individuals, but we're all, I would say, mostly young adults as far as the type of people.
Yeah, there's a little younger adults. There's some generational diversity, but
for sure,
it's younger-ish.
Yeah, younger-ish. So sometimes we have moments of intellectual engagement where we're quiet. You might hear some poet snaps if people's feeling what's being said, stuff like that. As far as diversity in the speaking from the pulpit, you will see Chris speak a lot. I speak sometimes. We have a speaking team where there's different members who will take part in that responsibility. So it's a community-led voice rather than just the leadership of one individual. So that's some of the things that they can expect.
And with that, like, it's important. One of the things that's important, one of our values is diversity. And so we're mindful of even who's up front on Sundays, that it's not just one type of person as much as we can. Obviously, you can't force it. But as much as we can, we want to celebrate the various backgrounds and perspectives of different people in our church. I think another piece that's important is we really value conversation. So on any given Sunday, you'll maybe have a chance to talk to your neighbors. We do like a couch conversation piece where there's extended period of time to chat and meet people, and it kind of introduces the subject, but you don't have to talk about that. You can talk about whatever you want. And then even in the sermon piece, we call it a conversation because we're trying to be cool and modern. But even in that piece, there's usually a space for people to respond and listen to the text we've chosen that day, and let it be kind of a collaborative group thing. So there's lots of kind of quirky things that might be a little different, but it's been fun so far.
Yeah, and to that point, you might hear somebody say some off-the-wall stuff, because as we're talking, when we engage the community and someone raises their hand, it's not vetted. Sometimes it could be a little interesting, to say the least. So one thing to think about. Also, there's kids. We are trying to build our children's ministry, so we got a lot of kids. On any given Sunday, you can hear them worshiping along with us during the conversation. So just kind of throw that out there. There's liveliness.
Yeah, and that's cool.
Yeah, it's great. We love it. They're cute.
We have a little note thing right here.
That's what we keep looking at.
So we don't forget. Greg and I are somewhat forgetful. This is very official.
Yeah, we're holding it down. Top tier executives here.
Before we get to the next question, we didn't introduce ourselves.
Yeah, I did. I said I'm Greg and I said you're Chris.
Oh, but what do we do?
Oh, so we're the staff of Oaklife, 100% of the staff.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is it.
This is it.
And technically, we're pastors,
Yes.
but don't call us that.
Yeah, we'll deny it. We'll deny it. Yeah, what's my title? It's like program coordinator for Sunday morning services. Anyway,
Yeah.
Pastor Greg works.
Yeah.
I guess. Or just Greg. It's even better. Anyway, so what is if I'm a new person, Chris, if I'm a new person to Oaklife, what are some of the expectations from me as a new person? What's my relationship into this church community, this Oaklife community?
Yeah, it's funny. I have a lot of conversations with people that talk about issues that they have with kind of the broader church or where the church has let them down and their tastes in church, like what they're looking for. I don't hear as many people talking about like what church expects of me. And so this piece is maybe more for people who are a little bit more rooted in the community, but even if you're not, you're thinking about like what does it mean to be a part of a church? It's kind of a different thing. It's very countercultural today. We live in like a non-committed, non-committal time where we want our autonomy and freedom to do whatever we want all the time. And so committing to a community is kind of weird. But I think it's weird in like the best and most beautiful ways, because I was just talking with somebody yesterday about we just had our first child, and we have a village around us because we have this community of people like giving us gifts and babysitting, and
super cute.
And he is a cute kid.
Ellie's the man.
But the fact is, like, having a community like that is something I know people are looking for, and I think I take for granted even until I see it in moments like that and realize, man, we get these people to do life with. And so in a sense, being rooted in a community isn't about like going to an event on Sundays as much as it is about being a part of like a family. And sometimes it takes time to get there. Not all of us are there at first. We need to kind of dabble and check things out and vet a community before we can like give ourselves to it. But I think the hope is that in the end, the expectation is that we're invested. We're making this place better. Oaklife is very much a decentralized, community-led church. So many of the things that we do are because people from within the community have taken ownership of it and given money to it, or volunteered and created a small group, or had ideas for how to do something on Sundays. And so the hope is that this thing, in a sense, isn't about us, but about like what we can give to it. And by doing that, we actually end up making it about us, or we receive as we give. And what I mean by that is, like, I think in America there's like a very much a consumer-oriented church-going thing where we go and we want like the best sermon and the best worship or whatever the thing is, and it ends up becoming about us consuming religious goods every Sunday, and we're spectators in a show. And I think there can be good to that. A lot of us have had that as like the way we've interacted with church or had a relationship with church. But I think it's missing a deeper, more meaningful relationship where you're invested, where you're in a relationship, people know who you are, and it's not about the warm fuzzies you get on Sundays. Hopefully what Greg and I help put together with people, like in terms of the sermon or the music, is meaningful and thought-provoking and good. We put a lot of thought and time into it, but that's not the thing. The thing is the community. It's the body of Christ. We're in it together, all the different pieces of that. So I just talked a lot and had like a sermonette. Sorry.
That's what you do.
Does that... I try not to. But does that answer that question? Like,
yeah,
what else?
No, it totally does. It totally does. To that point, I made a little joke and said, we're the only staff, which is technically true, but Oaklife wouldn't be Oaklife without all of the volunteers that put in work every Sunday morning, setting it up and making it happen. I had a conversation with somebody, and I said I wake up at 5 a.m. and they was like, "Why you wake up so early?" I was like, "Because I got to get there at 7." They're like, "Why you got to get there at 7 or 7:30?" It's like, because we got to set up. Like, this is what we do. People aren't aware of what goes into it, but the volunteers do. At one point, we had about 50 different volunteers helping out Oaklife, which is pretty cool. So one of my, I guess, thoughts to that question is the relationship. As Chris was saying, is the community aspect is something we strive so hard to develop, create, and maintain. So if there is a role for you watching, it would be to be a part of the community in any way you can. Wherever, get in where you fit in type vibes. But you gotta spend time, you gotta hang out, and that's only if you like us, though. I hope they like us. You think they like us?
I don't know. We're pretty weird. That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
Something as you were saying that, something came to mind too, just about like our DNA as a community. Two things to be said. We're like striving to be an inclusive church. So I think it's one of the things that's special about our community is that people from different backgrounds and people who have been rejected by the church because of their gender or orientation or various things. We want to be a welcoming and affirming church to everyone. So that's a unique thing about us, and something I'm grateful that we are, and an area of our essence that I've seen God move in some pretty amazing ways. And the other piece is with that, and it's kind of connected. We try as best we can to be thoughtful of justice. This idea of righting the wrongs in our culture, especially the systems that hurt people. Or oppress people or marginalize people. What does it mean to be people of faith who are trying to better our world in those ways? And so we'll have conversations about hot button issues, whether it's racial reconciliation or the environment. And so those are things that I wish more churches were having those conversations, because I think they're deeply theological and a way to practice our faith. So the inclusion and the justice piece are important to know about Oaklife. And those, like everything we've been saying now, are very collaborative. There's a group efforts for us to fully get those things moving forward in some way that is brings shalom and brings progress. It has to be all of us together. So that's pretty much it.
That's good, man.
That's probably enough. We have like an 11-minute video.
Yeah, this is. If you're still watching, kudos to you. You get the gold star for the day.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Those hot button issues they're good though. It's like the hot fuzzies.
The hot fuzzies.
The hot fuzzies. Those are the Sundays to come. So anyway. So in closing, if you have any thoughts, you wanted more questions on what we're talking about in this quick vid, or other questions that we didn't address for anybody who's new, or even OGs that are still, constructing, jot them down in the comments, and you might see us respond to it in the weeks and videos to come. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Like, subscribe.
Peace out.